Hey, it's Gene. Looks like another day for me to talk about online pundits that we have, and some of their statements are somewhat I don't know what the word is, but I'm going to go through it. The guy I'm talking about is Stephen Howson. He used to work with Full Time Devils. Now he's on Stratford Paddock. They changed their name. I don't know exactly why they did, but they did. I do like him when he talks about the game itself, the tactical analysis. I like when he looks at other players around Europe that would do well for us. I think he's really good in those areas. Um, I really don't watch him too much when he has almost political belief systems because most of the young people over there are slanted to the left, and I didn't really listen to what he had to say. But there's like a 30-second thing that I want to show you guys, and I want to talk to it, and you'll understand why. All right, let me go back and start it here.
When it was enough pressure, we get rinsed when we're selling players, we get rinsed when we're buying players, we don't bring through homegrown products anymore. The stadium's fucking falling apart. There's a complete and utter disconnect between the fans and the board. We're no longer a force on the fucking pitch. We've only just managed to bring back women's football to the football club when it was enough pressure on us to fucking do so. Like, we didn't do it because it was the right thing to do. We did it because we was going to get abused if we didn't fucking do it. Like, you say there's reasons to be positive. I'm sure there's reasons to be positive, but you're telling me there's reasons to be positive when we're standing up to our nipples in shit, Joe. We get rinsed when we're selling players. We get rinsed when we're buying players. We don't bring through home.
Okay, there's a lot there. Obviously, the points that he said about the club, the stadium, and all that stuff is correct. I don't understand why the fans should have any input when it comes to the board, really. If there's a voting block that they have that they can get rid of guys, I don't think they can. I don't think you have that power. I don't know what they expect that some guy at the elite level, like a millionaire who's going to board somewhere, is going to have any. It's not really going to give a shit about what the fans think. They're going to do to a certain point. The thing I want to talk about here is because this all happened under Greenwood, that we apparently, by reporting, again, I told you many times on this, we hear all this reporting that we have about transfers, and like 10% of those have to be correct. These same people also report about things like this about Greenwood, and can you actually believe what they have to say? Because most of the stuff that they said about Greenwood isn't right, and they didn't really go back and ask the question at press conferences or ask for an actual sit down with Arnold or any of these guys and talking about what he put out about the club. And the Crown had this information that said that the audio that they had was not the entire event. There was something more here. And I think there was a reason for that, and I made my opinion on it. I think that they didn't want to implicate her because I think a lot of what was shown out there, the audio itself, she says she was hacked. Whether she put it out there or not is regardless. I think that she could have been implicated by doing something that was almost false in reporting. My issue with what he said, I have no issue. I don't care about the board. I really don't give a shit about the board. They're going to do what they do because they're there to make money. If they thought that it was so great to be on the board at Manchester United, of course they'd want the stadium to look perfect. They'd want to have they want the grounds to look perfect. They want all this other shit to look perfect. They don't. They're businessmen, and we've got to get past the fact that this is how it is. This club is run as a business. The reason why we have so much footing in the entire world, we're such a big brand, is because those guys push this narrative to get this brand. Now, he talks about the women's club and the fact that we didn't have it until we were pushed into it. Is there a positive nature of having a football team that have women on it? I guess maybe there's some PR there. My issue is during Greenwood, we heard this stuff from these reporters that they were going to wait till these women got back from the Women's World Cup and ask them how they feel about in Greenwood. And I'm like, why? They don't pay in the same day. what I said in my response to him, I said, first of all, and I'll talk about my first response. He, why that we've lost this disconnect with the team. And this new team, let me drink this real quick. The last 6, 7, 8 years, we got to the point where we didn't trust this team. We didn't think that they did everything they could do for the badge, for the shirt, the tradition, but we all wanted these players. I didn't want Pogba, but a lot of people wanted Pogba. A lot of people wanted Di Maria to sign. We wanted Sanchez to be here. All these players that we thought that would give everything for the shirt. And we find out most of them are they're the modern footballer, and there's rare instances of these modern football players that actually play for the shirt, unless they grew up in the town and they're intrinsically tied to the team. That's why looking at the Greenwood versus Anthony situation, it is different. The claims are different, and also the fact is different that Greenwood had been there for 15 years. So you have to look at things a little differently because of that. And people don't understand that either. You know, you got guys like Mark Goldbridge and stuff like that saying, well, they're so crazy now that we're not suspending him and all this other stuff, and it's the same thing. And I'm like, no, that's not how that works. But we go back, and these players are just coming to this club because they get the brand from the club. And that's certainly on the board because we marketed this. But why should we care what the women's team cares about? And the fact that he says that we were pushed to do this, why? Is there this is just this virtual signaling, progressive, liberal bullshit that they're just killing themselves in England right now. This guy, in his hardest of hearts, when he's sitting at home and he sees all these guys coming off the dinghies and invading parts of England, do you think he thinks it's a good thing? Do you think they think that's a good thing for England itself or him or anything like that? But he'll still vote for the people that allow this to happen. Now, of course, they're still they're in a quote unquote conservative government, and they're allowing this. And the thing that happened to Manchester United 20 years ago is that we decided we had to be more global when it comes to getting more players. We didn't trust that the talent that we had in the local area. What I mean by local area, of course, you want people from Manchester, right? You want to have at least always a couple players from Manchester, like Rashford or something like that, or Lingard. These guys that grew up through the academy, they actually were from Manchester. Whether or not you actually think they're Manchurian or not, because they're African, I guess. So you can have that discussion, but at least they grew up in the area, and they are British, and they're citizens of that place. But we went out and we thought we had to get out all these other players, and we forgot that we had a lot of players that were from the area. You know, they were Scotland, or they were from England, or they were from Ireland, Northern Ireland, Wales, and they actually had a tie into Manchester. They understand what it meant to be a player for Manchester United. They wanted to go there for that because of the history that they have. Even though Manchester United is a global brand, a lot of these other players don't understand that, you know, and they still, some of them want to come to Manchester United. I mean, Aberbat wanted to come here, apparently. Holland was a young fan of Manchester United. So those are all great players, and that's what we should always, if we're going to look for somebody that's not from England. And again, I would also put the Scandinavian countries as well. I think they're similar when it comes to culture and things. So, and you know, parts of Europe would be considered the same as well. And you would have to play. You would want to have a team that's like this. And the point I'm trying to make is, guys like that think it's because the stadium has not been taken care of. The ground has not been taken care of. Oh my God, we weren't progressive enough to have a women's team before everybody else. Even though we have one now and it's one of the best in Europe, we're not progressive enough. Well, what's next? Do you want the refugees to come out and learn if they can play football, and then we'll sign them, and then they'll have a thing on the back that says welcome or something like that? The thing that's lost, and I'm not in England anymore. I was there during the times that they had all this, you know, the late 90s. I lived in England, and I saw the type of camaraderie that we had between the players, even though they were still getting more money than a normal person. They weren't getting so much more money. And the fact that a lot of these guys were from the area, they went through the youth team. We're dealing with the team from 1992 that was just littered throughout the team. And we realized that has been the actual disconnects. Can we really change what the ownership is unless you go out and get, we're a huge club, right? We should be able to go out and buy, if you had enough fans around the world, you should have enough to buy a certain curling interest on Manchester United, and you could change how the thing looks at it. But a lot of those people be from overseas, and then they'd want some players that were from them, that look like them, to play for Manchester United. Some Chinese guy come in and bought the team, he probably want to have a couple of Chinese players to play and have that iconic Manchester United kit on. My point is, and this is where it's going to get somewhat controversial, we stop getting players that are native, and for lack of a better word, white Britons to play for Manchester United. And that you lose a little of that cohesion that you had. I know that Manchester itself has become very diverse, as every big cities in England has. And what they've done is, as in all big cities now, is that everybody's at their own little areas. People don't necessarily live together in a diverse situation. They will go where people that look like them, have the same culture that they have, and they will congregate with them. Now, they'll go out into the city center and everybody be together, have different colors there and all that stuff. And everybody says that's diverse, and that's a diversity in action. But at the end of the day, they go back to their enclaves and they still do what they believe. They don't just forget what they brought over. If they're a Muslim person and they come from North Africa, they're going to still practice that type of thing. Some of their belief system is kind of like contradictory to Western culture. So you're going to have these issues. I was watching something last night that apparently I was watching like Coffee House Crime. Still can't believe this guy's almost got 2 million votes or subscribers. But I watch him and some of the other ones on there. When I'm not looking at stuff about sports or politics, I'll watch true crime. And I guess there was a thing going on in near Leicester, I guess. All these are basically Pakis or Pakistanis. I don't want to say I know if it's, I guess Paki is racially insensitive, but people from that area that are now there in Leicester, and they showed them like they went to a mosque and all this stuff. This is not really a Western thing, but anyway, they did this, and these two women, a mom and a daughter, had to kill the person that was still in love with the mom, and the mom was, she became a modern woman. She cheated on her husband and was out banging guys half her age, and the guy wanted to stay with her, and she said no, and they was going to give her money to pay him off, and then they ended up killing him, and they're going to be in jail for the rest of their lives and stuff. That's good. But the whole thing was just those. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in the white community. Okay, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that what these people, when they talk about why we didn't have a women's club, I'm like, why? Like, are we supposed to? Is Manchester United supposed to be leading by example? Because women continually want shit like this, that we just got to give into it. It's great that of course we're gonna have a good team because we're gonna support it, but I mean, come on. That's the problem he thinks it is. Like, that's the issue with Manchester United? No, it's not. This all happened at the end of the 1990s or so, when we started getting more and more of these players from overseas. And what I mean by overseas, it could be like in South America, Europe, but not really European. And there's a disconnect between the local people. And when you go into the stadiums, you're going to see some diverse, but it's still 80% of people. There are native Britain white guys that are sitting there watching that game because their father took them to the game, and then they want to take their kids to the game, and they want to experience it like that. So there's always going to be that, and people are like, well, Gene, you got to get past that. You know, you got to look at people that. No, I'm fine with it. You know, we pay for these, we play for these players, but don't expect them to run through walls for us, because there's no cultural tie to it. There's no, they're there. They're basically mercenaries. You're going to find a couple players that come in. You realize that they're not like that. Like Herrera. Now again, he's Hispanic. He could be white. I don't know, but clearly he's not from England. Martinez, he's from South America. He'll go through the wall for you as well. Regardless of what Beth and all those people say, that when he left Arsenal, he was, I guess, weak for doing that. But I know that that 99.99% of the time, that guy will go through the wall, not only because Ten Hag was his coach before that, but he'll do it for the badge. Rashford doesn't do it, and he's played so much, and he's a local dude, but he won't do it. Sancho's won't do it, even though he's a local dude, went to Manchester City before, but he's from the area. He won't do it. I think Pellistri will, if he gives the opportunity. I think clearly Garnacho will. Casemiro will. So we have to find players like that have that mentality. Apparently, I can't say his name, the guy from the Moroccan. Again, this is a guy who's probably a Muslim, but I'm sure that his idea is that he wants to be a Manchester United player. I don't know if it's for his brand, or he's always been a fan, or that's been his dream to play for Manchester United or it's just the brand. We won't know until the players show up and find out if they actually are like that. I think that what we need to do as fans, if you think that they're not doing what they need to do, then don't show up. Don't buy the merchandise. If you really want the club to be sold, don't show up. Now, it's hard because this is something that's ingrained when you're young, and if you're going there with your dad every day, you're not going to have that same relationship with your dad when you're, well, you might be. I mean, if you still continually go to the game, maybe for the last 40 years you'll be doing that, and that's a great thing, and that's a great part of the tradition. That's part of that in England. We used to have that in baseball. Dads would take their kids to the games, and then they would go there with their dads during the weekends when they were adults, and you have that thing. You're out there kicking the ball, you're throwing the baseball to each other. We don't have it here either. And the same issue is here as well. You don't have people that grew up locally, that are part of the team, that understand the culture that is in the local area. So that's really been the disconnect. We had it in the United States with baseball, and it's the same thing that's happened in England. Now, yours is on a very smaller scale because you're a small island. I'm sorry, but you have a lot of people in that small island, and you're being inundated with people saying that, oh my God, you have to do this for all these people that are coming here because they're obviously, they're oppressed and you need to take care of them. Meanwhile, they take out native Britain people, mostly white people, out of, if they're going to hotels or something like that, they take all that shit up. They take all that information, all that money for that, and it's gonna end up. People are gonna say, oh my God, London is the greatest place ever because it's so diverse. Okay, they still, at the end of the day, they all go back to their own enclaves. They don't live together that much. Now, some parts in London that they do, but even in those areas, they're still segregated. They don't, because the culture don't always match. And this is the problem with diversity. And again, if we weren't like we are, because we're humans, we're different, we all have biases. Some people say it's racism or something like that, or like some people, if you're white, obviously you're the only one that can actually be racist, because the entire world is built by men that are white, and these people who've never been outside the United States don't understand that that's the biggest bullshit thing there is. And the fact is, this country was 90% white when I grew up, when I was born. That's not good or bad. It's just observation of the facts. And when you wonder why certain things impact a sports team that has been so important to the local area, and then players come in and they're not committed to that, or they do stupid shit, regardless it's whether they did it or not, and that's so overblown in the media. And then we have our own fans get on these shows, sitting there saying, oh, they need to be gone, they need to be this, they need to be that. and that, or that we always blame the foreigners that come here and play for us. Instead of looking at how they're playing on the pitch, these white dudes on their podcasts and stuff will continually say it's the fans' problem. It's not the players not playing the correct way. And then if you have any criticism for it, it's only because they're foreign. They're different than the people there. Well, I'm telling you, there is something to that. And you just can't throw it away and say we're not progressive enough. Now we got to make sure we have a women's claim team. What's next? Are we going to have a trans team as well? That's not how you answer the issue. The issue is make the youth team the best in the world. Don't sell out the players. Or you can loan them out, but don't sell them, and push those players up through the youth team. Now, even if they're from another area, they're still going to be immersed in the Manchester United way. They're going to be still required. I'm assuming that they do this. They go in the community and they do things like that. And a lot of it's based on diversity stuff. They go into places where it's almost all colored people, or that sounds weird. Not white players or not white areas, and doing stuff there to help. And that's part of this whole thing of, I have to show that I'm doing things, and that's great. But that allows them to be in the neighborhood and being local to the area. Don't get rid of these young players. Have trust that they'll do well at the next level. And we have not won the league in 10 years. We're not going to win it this year. Personally, I would let the younger players play. And I mean Palestri, Garnacho, Hoyland. These guys should be playing. And I think we should find a way to get rid of Rashford. I wasn't shocked he was not part of the Ballon d'Or just because he was the player's player of the year or something else that he got. He had like 10 or 15 games last year that he was pretty good. And he made goals out of his opportunities. But he's not better than Saka overall. So I don't really rate him, and I think with Hoyland as number 9, he'll look better if he opens up, if he raises his hand and makes the pass to him. We might have an electric type of attack. So I'm not saying right now, but certainly he's not a 400,000 player each week. He's just not. And that's the other thing too. People, they look at how much they make each month or each week if you're a player, and you look at as far as your respect. And the reason why I'm sure younger players will probably get upset that they're not playing is because they look at that and say, I'm just as good as this guy, and he's getting 5 times more than me. Why ain't I playing? And it's all part of the issue. It's just not a Manchester United issue. The reason why some teams do better is they just do. They have the better coaches, they have better facilities, they have whatever. Guardiola went to Manchester United at the right time for him. I still don't think Manchester United or Manchester City, I don't think they're better than the teams we had in the late 90s. The game has changed, but it would depend on how you referee the game. If we had the physical type of play that we played in the late 90s, and we played it now, and they allowed that same type of thing, I don't know that they could actually deal with us. But if you play now, it is weird because you get people talking about why Hoyland didn't get the penalty and all that stuff, and like we're a contact sport. Not really. It's like if you're touched, they're going to call the penalty, and they go to VAR, and fortunately they didn't. They overturned it because clearly that wasn't a penalty for Havertz. But anyway, I'm getting off. All I'm trying to say is overall, I like Stephen. Didn't like him at first, back when I was kind of a defender of Mark Goldbridge, because him and full-time Devils got upset because he got more popular than them, and they have had issues with each other. But his tactical analysis I really like, and I watch him a little bit more than I used to. But it always comes back to shit like this. The reason why we're not this, the reason why we're not this, or it's owners, or it's this and that. 99% of the reasons why we are is where we are is the manager and the players. If they're not buying into the system, and they're not doing everything they can do to be the best player they can be, we're going to still struggle. We are still getting to a point. He doesn't have all the players he wanted. He didn't want Casemiro. Now Casemiro's played well for us, but that wasn't his first choice. He wanted Frankie de Jong. Casemiro is not as quick, and he's older. He wanted somebody that was in his 20s, that was quicker on the field, that can keep his ball be more progressive going forward. Casemiro is like a stopgap to what he wants. The question is, will we allow Ten Hag to still be there? There are people now on TikTok saying that he should be gone. There's an American dude out there that's on there all the time, and he just says stupid shit. And it's all goes back to what happened with Ronaldo. And it's like, apparently we destroyed the football gods because we got rid of Ronaldo. It's like, I love Ronaldo, and he played during that time, and in the 2000s, where they used to knock the shit out of you and would take the ball, and then they wouldn't call it, and he got beat up all the time. Now it's a totally different game, and apparently I think a lot of it's because how much money you get now. So if you have this guy that's making so much money, and now he can't play because you get hitting him all the time, and I get all that to a point, because they're the entertainment, and they don't really play a team type of game. It's so many times last year and this year there are opportunities once you get on the break or something like that, and no one takes a pass, or they wait too long, and because they want to be the show, they want to make the goal, they want to make all that stuff, and that's great, you know. Bruno probably should have 30 assists last year, but people missed it. He missed it himself when he got wide open. This year we're like fourth in the league as far as creating big opportunities, and we've only scored like 4 goals or whatever it is. We got 3 against Forest, 0 against Spurs, 1 out of that's 4. 5. We scored 5. So, but we've also created the fourth highest amount of chances, big chances. So here we are again. But like I said, I understand that this is a process, and we have to give him. It's always about Manchester United all the time. No matter what happens, this is what we're gonna. They just continually talk about it, and I don't know. Anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. I can just say this. I think that Ten Hag has done a good job. I hope that Sancho leaves on loan, and then they can buy him later, and we can just move on, because as I said before, we have a lot of our players that can play that position. He's different. He can hold the ball a little bit better, most of them. But I like Palestri. I like Garnacho. I like Ahmad when he comes back. I think we'll be fine in that position. I think that one area is that we have a lot of players, and they can play either side. The fact that Marcus can't play one side, and that's all bullshit. These guys can do that. They have the ability to do that. He's just got to get especially on Marcus's, he needs to get his head up and pass the ball a little bit quicker. But anyway, again, not a personal thing. It's the mentality that these young people have over there. They've been raised into it, and they think everything has to be on that type. You know, why is it Manchester United being the leader here? We have to have a women's club. I'm thinking to myself, why? And that's not the problem. Although the stuff I said before, I guess you could say is true. However, why are you putting that in there? Now, I didn't see the beginning of that. I didn't see after that. I don't know what the actual question was, but there are a lot of people in the comments saying, "Oh, that's exactly why the problem that we have Manchester United." No, it's not. It's a lot more. There's a lot more layers there, and my personal belief is that the game has changed, not just on the field, but it's everywhere. Money rules everything. It changes everything. You still want to watch it, but it's not the same. These players do not die for the shirt anymore. How many times are you going to see players put on shit around their things after they get hit in the head and still play it? Not anymore. It's like, because, you know, it's the concussion protocol. You got to get them off, because they become their own business, their own brand, and they don't want to be broke. And if they're not playing, then they're not going to get all the other things that comes along with playing with it. As if you're going to buy players, you have to almost have to do like a background on when it comes to their motivation. If they're just there to be part of a brand, I mean, it's like you watch Marcus off the field, you look at Lingard off the field when he was still with us, and I don't like no, I'm not going to say Gene just because you're white. It's just their culture, you know. That, yeah, bullshit. I don't think you go around with all this necklace shit around you and gold shit all over you. What is that? That's idolatry. That's anti-God. I don't. I want players to go out, give everything they can, regardless of their talent level, and whatever. I mean, again, I could talk about this forever. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll talk about it there. You guys have a good day. And this happens, you know, during the breaks, and I got nothing else to talk about. NFL football comes back tonight, but when it comes to Manchester United, I don't want to talk about all the other stuff. I have my own. I've already talked about Sancho and Anthony. I'll just wait until more shit comes out with that. But you guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you later.